How many times have you been told nothing is free in this world? That may be true more times than not, but in this video, everything that I'm about to show you are really fun things to do that are free to do while in Mexico City. If you are homeless, you could still do these things. Nos Vamos. Starting at number 1, my favorite is the high entertainment life on the streets by the Palacio de Bellas Artes. Walking up and down the streets, you can see street models of all kinds. You can take pictures with the Grinch, Squid Game characters, Pancho Villa and Emiliano Zapata, and even the one and only Tony Stark. Or I guess in this case, Antonio Stark. And not to mention the breathtaking scenery of the Palacio de Bellas Artes. Like, look how packed these streets are. This place is buzzing all day, especially at night. Live entertainers suddenly start performing and drawing huge crowds. I'm talking about groups of over 100, and this is spread throughout the streets. You will have rappers doing funny skits while doing electronic beatboxing. Amazing magicians doing crazier tricks than the ones I've seen in organized professional shows. How the heck is he doing that? Break dancers, body deconstructing dancing. This guy was hilarious and a true entertainer. And that is the thing about these entertainers in Mexico City. They are not only different because of their amazing talents, but they interact greatly with the crowd, making jokes, having volunteers, inviting children, and they are just always leaving you wanting more. Now, these people don't really work for free. Many of these individuals rely on this money, so it's fair to leave a tip when the assistants come around with the tip hats. They won't force you to pay. It's a public park, so there is no ticket admission to watch, but sparing some pesos if you have it is not going to break your bank, especially if they are really killing it, which they do every single time.
Well, I was trying to get to the Museum of the Bellas Artes, which is right here. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find time, but apparently outside the museum is just as entertaining. Like, there's just an amazing atmosphere. There's food, there's cervezas, there's snacks, and just a great atmosphere. There's live entertainment, and apparently Iron Man and Thanos. So if you're ever out at night, try getting to the road of the Bellas Artes. So the Bellas Artes is right here behind me. I didn't have time to go to the museum. I heard it was really good, but I've only been here for a short amount of time. I haven't been able to get there, but I'm just as happy to be out here outside because it's just as cool.
There's also the Alameda Central, the oldest public park in the Americas, created in 1592.
Well, apparently, you could also dance if you like.
Second stop is touring the streets of the historical Paseo de la Reforma. The Paseo de la Reforma is one of Mexico City's busiest streets and is the city's main avenue that runs diagonally across the heart of Mexico City. This almost 15-kilometer long avenue was modeled after the elegant boulevard of Europe's own Champs-Élysées in Paris.
So I was in the middle of a run, and I actually just found out that in the Paseo de la Reforma, which is one of the busiest streets in Mexico City, every Sunday they close off the streets completely from cars, and you can literally jog, run, rollerblade apparently, throughout the entire street.
Muévete en Bici is a government-backed initiative that aims to promote a healthy and active lifestyle for residents of Mexico City. And they look to do this by closing off the streets of the Paseo de la Reforma every Sunday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. so locals and tourists can participate in cycling, jogging, running, dog walking, or just taking a nice calm stroll. Free bikes are available between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. at a booth. ID is required to borrow a bike and is held until you return your bike. But rest assured, your ID will be in good hands and no trouble will come of it. Rentals are good for a maximum of 2 hours, and a late fee of 50 pesos is charged if you pass the time limit. There's even bike stations that will stop to fix problems like a flat tire, brake issues, etc. And there's even a station for water and Gatorade. And look who's sponsoring this, Gatorade themselves. Dang, the Mexican government spares no expense when doing this, and this happens literally every Sunday and 100% free of charge, which is an added bonus.
And this happens every Sunday. It's really cool. If you're in Mexico City on a Sunday and you love to run, if you like to bike or exercise, go to the Paseo de la Reforma. You will not be disappointed.
Next off, we got Garibaldi. Garibaldi is located on Eje Central and is one of the most iconic squares in all of Mexico City. Popularized through movies and commercials, Garibaldi today is one of the busiest tourist squares because of its festive atmosphere dedicated to authentic Mexican music, the mariachi. The original name of this plaza was Plaza Santa Cecilia, but in 1920, at the conclusion of the Mexican Revolution, it was named in honor of Lieutenant Colonel Pepino Garibaldi, who joined with the Maderistas in the attack on Casas Grandes, Chihuahua during the revolution. And now, every day, hundreds of people gather to hear great performances while dining in beautiful outdoor restaurants. There are also many amazing indoor restaurants, a whole corridor of them that seem to be never ending. It is like a huge Mexican market, and the decorations were on point. You can walk around the area, it is very beautiful, and you can just take in the atmosphere and hear the mariachi for no charge. Obviously, to buy food and ask for a personal serenation, that will cost you. For me, I ate tacos and quesadillas in one of the indoor restaurants, and it was a home run, 10 out of 10. Eventually, I got a drink outside right by the mariachi, and it was a truly fitting vibe. No better way to spend the night. Look, one of the cops let me ride his horse. Man, I love Mexico. Number 4, must-see destination that is free is the Zocalo, the sacred heart of all of Mexico City. The Zocalo is an extremely festive and lively atmosphere that both locals and tourists come out to enjoy. In one corner, you have authentic Aztec dancers called concheros, dancing to authentic traditional Aztec music. It truly is an amazing experience to witness, and not to mention the music itself is actually very good. Now, this area is called the Zocalo today, but what it used to be called in the days of the Aztec Empire was Tenochtitlan, the old capital of the great Aztec Empire. As you go around, you can witness Aztecs practicing purification rituals. Fending off and cleansing bodies of evil spirits is open to both tourists and locals, but a fee is paid for their cleansing services. It's just super cool to see this in person, to hear the drums and the horns and the jaguar growls. It makes you feel like you've traveled back in time. And isn't that what traveling is all about? Transitioning from the Aztec roots to the Spanish roots of Mexico. Right in front of these rituals taking place is Mexico City's most treasured architectural masterpieces and Latin America's largest and oldest cathedral, the famous Metropolitan Cathedral of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary into Heaven, or the Metropolitan Cathedral for short. This amazing cathedral started its construction in 1573 and wasn't finished until 1813, standing as Latin America's largest cathedral and arguably one of the most architecturally interesting masterpieces. Highlights of the cathedral includes 5 naivs, 14 chapels, underground catacombs, and a painting by famed Spanish artist Bartolomé Esteban Morillo. Only 209 years young, this masterpiece is free for entry, which is just awesome. I was very surprised that they didn't charge anyone to enter. Take advantage of this amazing place and this amazing opportunity. It is just worth the trip. Just look at that gigantic golden key for this place. Come on. A key that big has to be for something muy importante. The one whose idea was to actually build the monumental church was the most famous Spanish conquistador in history, Hernán Cortés. You may have heard of him. Hernán Cortés defeated the Aztec Empire with the help of other Indian tribes who really hated the Aztecs. And I mean just hated. The Aztecs weren't the friendliest neighbors. And after sacrificing thousands of the members of the native Indian tribes, it grew a minor resentment towards the oppressors. And the heavy taxation didn't help that much either. To this day, Hernán Cortés's body can be found in this cute little church called the Parroquia de Jesús Nazareno y Inmaculada Concepción. Say and think what you want of this man, but he is an instrumental piece of Mexico's history, and the fact that it's literally a couple blocks from the Zocalo and free of charge to enter is just another big historical excursion that won't take much of your time. It can be found here on the Avenida de Pino Suarez. Again, not too far from here, you will find the temple of the last Aztec emperor in history, the famous Templo Mayor for Emperor Montezuma. It's literally right across from the cathedral facing each other. The Templo Mayor was the most significant of all the temples, located in the heart of the city capital of Tenochtitlan, both as a representation of their wealth and power and advanced sophistication as a culture and society. Topped by twin temples dedicated to the war god Huitzilopochtli and the rain god Tlaloc, it was a focal point of the Aztec religion and very central of the Aztec world. Again, free of charge to enter and catch a front row glimpse at this awesomeness. And not to mention that the Mexican government building is located right across. Who knows, you might bump into the Presidente. As you can see, this place is extremely fun to be around, super lively, amazingly festive. If you have not seen my video on the Zocalo in my channel, I highly recommend giving it a watch. I go more in depth of the city square and ways on how to navigate it. The next hottest destination is the famous cobbled streets of Coyoacan. The environment of leafy parks and green all over gives you a vibe of being in a peaceful village. Coyoacan is a Nahuatl word meaning place of the coyotes. This pre-Columbian city holds art galleries, colorful buildings, and artisan markets, along with an array of delicious restaurants. And they even have coconuts. At the heart of the city, Coyoacan was the site of the first Spanish settlement in Mexico City, and the base from which Hernan Cortez launched his conquest of the Aztec Empire. Cortez made Coyoacan the temporary capital of New Spain, Nueva España, and resided there in the first colonial palace in central Mexico. After the capital was moved northward to Mexico City, Coyoacan remained an independent village with its own central plaza, churches, and narrow streets. Just across from the Jardín Centenario is the Church of San Juan Bautista, parts of which date back as far as 1522, when Hernan Cortez granted dedicated land to build a religious complex on top of what had been an Aztec school. In front of the church is a cross dating from which the foundation of Coyoacan. The church is definitely worth dropping in just to view its lovely interior, in particular its ceilings. Coyoacan also has the famous Frida Kahlo Museum, the Casa Azul. The Mexican painter is known for her many portraits, self-portraits, and works inspired by the nature and artifacts in Mexico. As the wife of another famous painter, Diego Rivera, Frida Kahlo was a trailblazer in feminism, and the museum is one of the most popular places to visit in Mexico City. There is a charge to get in, but I just wanted to see the house for historical props, so the outside was good enough for me. Overall, Coyoacan is just beautiful and a refreshing atmosphere to get away from the busy, hectic streets of the city. Up next is one of the most visited churches in the world, the Catholic shrine of the Basilica de Guadalupe. Since the earliest 16th century, this site has held a mass religious and cultural significance in the hearts of the Mexican people. The story of a Chichimec peasant named Juan Diego had a vision of the Virgin Mary as a dark-skinned Indian, telling him to build a church on the land. When the local Spanish bishop heard this, he demanded proof of the apparition, and it was given when Juan Diego showed his cloak, called a tilma, and the image of the Blessed Virgin of Guadalupe was imprinted on the tilma, which gave proof to the bishop that Juan Diego was telling the truth and thus fulfilling the wish given by the Virgin to build a church on what is today the Basilica. It was this colossal event that started the mass voluntary conversion of the natives from their Aztec rituals to the faith of Catholicism. Not only is this a historically breathtaking environment, but the tilma itself that was shown to the bishop all those hundreds of years ago is still very much intact today, which is a miracle in and of itself. The tilma has been examined by modern scientists from all over the world and still leaves experts scratching their heads by the phenomena that the tilma of the Guadalupe holds. I made a much more in-depth video about the Virgin de Guadalupe and her story and the background. I'd highly recommend watching it after this video so you can actually truly understand just how crazy the whole story behind this tilma is. It'll make your trip seeing it in person much more meaningful, I promise you. Again, same theme. It is free to enter the Basilica, free to go in and see the tilma, and you can wrap around the Basilica to see the tilma as many times as you want. Enjoy the atmosphere, the peaceful, holy environment that is the Basilica de Guadalupe, with the Mexican locals and travelers from all over the world. This is an ingrained piece of Mexican culture, and you would be missing out if you were not able to catch a glimpse. Now here is the Ángel de Independencia, built in 1910 during the presidency of Porfirio Díaz by architect Antonio Rivas Mercado to commemorate the centennial of the beginning of Mexico's War of Independence against Spain. It's a center where the city people come to relax with family and friends, enjoying taking pictures, eating snacks from the food vendors, dancing, and a live entertainment. It is also an awesome place to enjoy the sun setting across the horizon beyond the Paseo de la Reforma. Not too far from here is of course the famous Bosque de Chapultepec. It is one of the largest city parks in the Western Hemisphere. Centered on a rock formation called Chapultepec Hill, it is considered the first and most important of Mexico City's lungs. Here you will find the famous monument dedicated to Los Niños Héroes, 6 Mexican military cadets who were killed in the defense of Mexico City during the Battle of Chapultepec, one of the last major battles of the Mexican-American War, on the 13th of September in 1847. The date of the battle is now celebrated in Mexico as a civic holiday to honor the cadets' sacrifice. And all throughout the park, there are street vendors selling toys, food, artisans, etc. What I think is the best part about the Bosque de Chapultepec is the fact that you can hand feed squirrels. If you have any fruits, nuts, berries, or even chips, the Mexican gray squirrels will be more than happy to take it off your hands. These squirrels are super personable and not shy whatsoever. So that does about wrap it, guys. The top destinations to visit while traveling in Mexico City that are free to go and witness. Again, I recommend visiting my main channel and watching some of the videos I made on some of these destinations, as I do go much more in depth about each of them, like the Zocalo and Chapultepec. Let me know down in the comments which destination out of them all would you most be interested in visiting. And let me know if you have visited these places before, and let me know what you thought of them. Also leave a comment if there were any free destinations that I might have missed throughout Mexico City. The more you know, the better. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Gracias y adios.